Hayisurim im kvar bo'u Hayisurim im kvar bo'u al ha'adam tova gidolei. So once again, Yisurim, when it comes again to suffering, to difficulty, to adversity, if they've already occurred to a person has to have the proper perspective to look at them as a total, to look at them ultimately again as a benefit. Ki kozman sheyish avon biyado shel adam ha'avon hazeh mastir mimenu esar Hashem al nishmaso. Consider something exceptionally profound. As long as a person has a particular aveira that's hanging over him, so that aveira ultimately blocks out the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and literally weighs down on his soul. This is an incredible yesod. But the Mechaber is saying that when a person is committed, if I've committed an aveira and I haven't really worked that through, it just sits there. It sits on my neshama and it colors everything about my relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Let's say to a certain degree, it's the same yesod. It's not just a din in averos; it's a din in relationships. In any life relationship, and you could plug it in with what it is. You can plug it in with marriage. You can plug it in with a friendship, parents. When something has happened in the relationship, so more often than not, the way people try to go ahead and deal with difficulties in relationships is not to deal with it. Right? And just to kind of sweep it under the rug and just push it away and pretend like it doesn't exist. Of course, we all know it doesn't work because it absolutely unequivocally exists, and it sits there. And while it sits there, while that unresolved relationship issue sits there, it becomes an obstacle to the relationship itself. So it says the Mechaber, if I commit an aveira, that aveira, and his lashon over here is very beautiful. That lashon hides the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu from me, and ultimately sits machbid al nishmas. It sits on my soul. In other words, it creates a blockage. It creates ultimately like a barrier between myself and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Let's say, I want to be clear. This has nothing to do with onesh. It has nothing to do with punishment. This has to do with the impact that sin has on a relationship level with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. My relationship with God is not the same. Not because God's punishing me, not because God's angry with me, because in any relationship, when I do something to offend the other party in the relationship, and I do something that ultimately creates a little bit of a division, so by definition, the longer time that division is not dealt with, the greater it becomes. He says something quite beautiful here. But through Yisurim, in other words, so now remember, the model that we've been working with over here is that nothing is haphazard. Everything is from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Therefore, when I find myself struggling with Yisurim, my job is to figure out, it's a message from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, a message of love. God is telling me something is in a state of disrepair. What is it? So sometimes through Yisurim, Yisurim make me think about what it is in life that is broken. Yisurim make me think about what it is that's in a state of disrepair. Va'az or Hashem mazriach alav. Then the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes down on me. V'chayav yafim u'mesukim. And ultimately, again, my life can become beautiful and sweet. Adam shabohu alav Yisurim. So I'll say, now, what happens in the following case? A person has some difficulty, suffering, adversity, whatever it might be. And now a person follows the advice of the Mechaber and decides, you know what, I have to do a cheshbon nefesh. I have to figure out what's wrong, what's in a state of disrepair, what's not going right, what does the HaKadosh Baruch Hu want of me? But I'm unsuccessful. I can't figure it out. I try to figure out what the message is. I try to figure out the midah, the reciprocity. I try to figure all of these things out, but l'maisa I can't. So here's what I know. I know that I'm having difficulties. Of course, I also know that I'm not perfect. I understand that. But l'maisa, I don't know why I'm experiencing. I don't know what it is. I don't know what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is trying to tell me. So he says, person has to speak with Hashem. The person has to speak with HaKadosh Baruch Hu and to request from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ribono Shel Olam, tell me, why am I encountering these difficulties? The Yarbe Lischanim Lefanav, Ribono Shel Olam, Ana Rachim Alai. A person has to daven, Ribono Shel Olam, Help me understand what sin. Help me understand what indiscretion. Help me understand what I've done wrong. What are you trying to tell me? What are you trying to tell me? Because my sincere desire, that which is broken. And ultimately, again, a person has to continue to speak to HaKadosh Baruch Hu until one's eyes are opened and one sees what needs to be fixed. So it's an incredible yisod. What the Mechaber is saying is sometimes, the reciprocity is clear. Sometimes it's understandable, ultimately, again, what it is that I need to work on. Sometimes it's clear what's broken, but then there are other times where I'm encountering circumstances and I don't know what to make of them. What do you do in those circumstances? You go ahead and you speak to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We'll say, if you notice, by the way, the Mechaber is very careful. He doesn't use the lashon tzarach sheyispalo, that you should daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He says you should speak to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because if you remember, again, we spent a significant amount of time speaking about the power of speaking to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Remember, again, I think I mentioned this, the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh, he was orphaned at the age of 5. His mother died when he was, I think, when she was in childbirth. His father died when he was 5 years old. So the story is told by the Baal Shem Tov that when his father was on his deathbed, he had like I always have difficulty wrapping my head around these scenes. So the Baal Shem Tov's father, 5 years old, calls his little son to the bed, and he gives him a series of instructions. One of those instructions was that he reminded his son to always speak to HaKadosh Baruch Hu words. That a dialogical relationship with God is not just about davening 3 times a day. Davening 3 times a day is the obligation we have. It's a halachic obligation. It's a relationship obligation. But there's something about speaking to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's something just about speaking to Ribono Shel Olam. And you don't need formulations. You don't need Anshe Knesset HaGedolah. You don't need to be, exceptionally good with words. But rather, again, it's just speaking to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in your own words, in your own language, and just literally opening up your heart to the Ribono Shel Olam. So the Mechaber says over here that if I find myself in the midst of difficulties and adversity, and I know that it's purposeful, I know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is giving me a message, but I don't know what it is. I don't know what the message is. And I feel like obviously God is telling me something, but I can't figure it out. Speak to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Not Shachris, Mincha, Musaf, Ma'ariv. No, but speak to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in your own words. Talk to Ribono Shel Olam. I know you're talking to me. I know you're telling me something, but I don't know what it is. So what happens? Let's say I try it. I speak to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and still just don't know. Don't know what it is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is teaching me or telling me. Don't know ultimately, again, what it is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling me to do tshuva for. Yachzik al kol panim be'emunah, shebevadei ein yisurim below avon. Os o mikra b'yisurim. V'yifne ala bore v'yomer lo Ribono Shel Olam. Bevadei ein shum tos o mikra she'ish li yisurim. V'ani ma'amin be'emunah shlema she'ilu ha'yisurim hei mimcha biglal avon she'asisi. So even if I can't figure it out, I still have to say, Ribono Shel Olam, nothing in this world is random. The difficulty, the adversity that I have are here because something is in a state of disrepair. And you're trying to teach me and tell me what it is that is in a state of disrepair. But I don't know what. I don't know what it is you want me to do. Ana Hashem, lefanecha galo Yaakov, you know everything. And so you know why it is that you brought this adversity upon me. Slach no li al ha'avon shebiglalo bo'u li yisurim. V'tesabeb sibos l'tova skeletakin b'chaim chayusi esa avon azeh b'chulei. But say, just reach out for help. Just reach out for help. Sometimes, again, it's just about speaking to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Sometimes let's say, we have so many questions on HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Why did the Baal Shem does this? Why does this? Why does that? And we ponder, we philosophize, we do all different kinds of things, except for one thing. We never speak to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We never say, Ribono shel olam, I need to talk to you, not to daven to you. I just need to talk to you. He'll say, that because of the instructions that the Baal Shem Tov's father gave him, so this concept of just dialogue with HaKadosh Baruch Hu became an incredibly important tenet in Chasidus. I mean, again, so the Baal Shem Tov's great-grandson, Rabbi Nachman, was the one who also put an incredible emphasis on this, of the hisbodedus, of just the need to speak to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, not to daven, but just to converse. You're visiting circumstances upon me. I don't know why. I know it's purposeful, and I need your help to figure it out. Look at the last paragraph. So we'll say. So now again, I've tried everything now to figure out why it is exactly that I'm having these circumstances. I'm still undergoing difficulties. Yeah, so let's listen to this. So what do you do? So what do you do if you've tried everything? You've spoken, you've cried, you've talked, you did everything. And I still can't figure out why it is, what the nature of this adversity is. Listen to what the Rebbe says. What the Mechaber says. Yashlich es sichlo. We'll say, what do you have to do? Sometimes in life when you can't figure something out, yashlich es sichlo. You have to throw away your intellect. V'yamin. And we'll say, sometimes when you can't figure things out intellectually, the only Eitzah is to stop being so intellectual. And sometimes it's about throwing away the seichel, and it's about v'yamin shakolatova. We'll say sometimes the path to success is not through your mind. Sometimes the path to success is through the heart. Sometimes when I can't figure things out with my seichel, I just have to build up the neshama, I have to build up the emunah, v'yamin shakolatova. So we'll say sometimes if I can't figure out what the particular challenge means or what the particular message is, sometimes I just have to stop trying to figure it out, and I just have to believe that some way, somehow, it's the tova, it's for good. And I have to accept the whole thing with love and with humility. Page וגם יתכן שהייסורים אלו באים לי על העוונות מגלגולים קודמים. I will say this now. A subsequent time that we discuss this idea, when we can't figure out why I have particular challenges or adversity, and as much as I do a cheshbon nefesh, and I try to introspect and try to figure out what could be in a state of disrepair for which God is dispatching to me this particular message. Because sometimes, again, there are things that I have to deal with in this world that are a ramification of previous gilgulim. There are ramifications, ultimately, again, of previous cycles of my soul. Whatever that means. And I will say one thing is clear, which is at the end of the day, many of us have been here before, right? And many of us are back here because of unresolved issues from previous gilgulim. And sometimes, remember we saw the Arizal. The Arizal said, I will say that if you want to know what your tachlis is in this world, right? Everyone wants to know what's my purpose. So what did the Rebbe say so beautifully? So remember, Arizal said it, Rabbi Nachman said it, you struggle with most. The thing you struggle with most, chances are, is the one thing that your neshama did not resolve in its previous life. And so I'm here again in order to go ahead and resolve that very issue. It's an incredible yesod. And I will say what's even more amazing about it is, if you think about it, most of us struggle with a thing, right? I mean, maybe it's things, but right, at least it's an interesting thing. In life, most times we've been struggling, many of us have been struggling with the same thing for the last 10, 20, 30, 40, meaning there's not really like panim chadashos ba'olakan. There's not like so much new struggles. There are daily struggles, but in terms of like the big things that are like my Achilles heel, it's pretty much been the same thing for all of these years. So what's the pshat with that? What the pshat is with that is because I haven't gotten it under control in 30 years, because apparently I didn't get under control in my last lifetime either, right? So the goal is, I'm not coming back again, right? The goal is this is it. But that's only true if I'm attacking ultimately, again, that which is in a state of disrepair. So the idea over here is that maybe sometimes maybe I can't figure out the Yisurim because the Yisurim are related to this life. Maybe the Yisurim are related to a previous Gilgul. Lochein. So we'll say, but again, I don't know. I'm not going to figure that out. I'm not going to figure that out. Yeah, I can go to whatever, madam, whatever, and she can read my palm and figure out, but I'm not going to figure out the Gilgulim piece. But Lamais at the end of the day, Lachin L'chala Pachos, Eshtadel L'kabel Zayisurim V'avo Bachna, V'yuli Hayisurim L'chaparos Avonos. So we'll say sometimes again, where the seichel cannot get me the answers that I need. So I need to rely ultimately again, to rely on the Neshama, I need to be able to rely on my emunah. To say, this is the circumstances you've visited upon me. These are the circumstances I'm going to maximize, and I'm going to keep trying to figure out ultimately again what you're trying to convey to me, what the message is, and what needs to be changed. So I will say when a person upholds this third level of emunah, and this third level of emunah recognizing that nothing is random, everything is a message from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and therefore even the challenges I have are HaKadosh Baruch Hu's way of giving me a wake-up call to say, hey, something is not as it should be, something is in a state of disrepair, something needs to be improved, and I internalize that message, and I change my life based on that message. That's called someone ultimately, again, who possesses an emunah shalima. All right, we'll stop over here. We'll pick up Guf Chaf Aleph and Meretz Hashem tomorrow. All right, we'll say good morning. Let's begin. So today's daf is daf Yud. We are picking up on the actually test some of these, mamish the last two words. So our shir is dedicated this morning by the Grossman family, the Ilui Nishmas and Ira's mother, Rabbi Shmuel. We hope that on the merit of our Talmud Torah, Neshama will have an aliyah, and the family in Nechama. And also the aliyah Neshama of Eliezer ben Klonimus. We hope that on the merit of our Talmud Torah, Neshama will have an aliyah, and the family in Nechama. All right, we'll say, let's begin. So where we left off yesterday with the fascinating discussion about Adam Karov Li'atzmo. The idea being that a person cannot give self-incriminating evidence. Why not? Right? Why not? So again, remember, Adam Karov Li'atzmo, a person is literally related to himself. So the idea over here, it says the Gemara is like this, that since a Karov is Pasol Eidus, since a Karov cannot give testimony about himself, since a Karov, someone who is related to you is Pasol Eidus, and no one is more related to you than you, therefore, by definition, a person is unable to give testimony about himself. And again, the manifestation of that that we saw yesterday was a person certainly can't give incriminating evidence about himself. That's in Adam Mesim Es Atzmo Rasha. Fine. So says the Gemara. Amar Rabba. Rabba said the following, top of Yod. Ploni Ba'al Ishti. So we'll say, let's say a man testifies, and he says that someone, Ploni, so-and-so, had relations with my wife. See, he's testifying that his wife, this is the husband, that his wife committed adultery with another man. So what's the halacha? Hu va'acher mitzarfen lahargo, avalo laharga. So the halacha, so the Gemara says, Rabbi says that the husband can combine with another witness, be two witnesses, to go ahead and put the bow out, to put the adulterer to death. But based on the husband's testimony, they cannot put the wife to death. So take a look at Rashi for just a moment. So Rashi says, because ultimately, again, a husband is related to his wife. So also the idea over here is that the husband's testimony is believed regarding the bow of the man, the adulterer, but not believed regarding his wife. So this is essentially Pagina Diburi. We split or we splice his testimony. We'll believe it ultimately again towards one of the parties to the adultery, but not for the other. So Gemara says, "My kamash malon." What's the chiddush of this case? Okay, so what are you teaching me? That we'll say when somebody gives testimony under certain circumstances, we could split the words. We could split the words and essentially take a part of the testimony that is usable and leave aside the other part of the testimony that's not usable. In this case, we could take the husband's testimony vis-a-vis the boel, but we can't go ahead and use the husband's testimony vis-a-vis the wife. But we already learned that before. We'll say that's the same thing that we had before at the end of yesterday's daf, where the man testifies and he says, so and so violated me. So the Gemara says, what I thought, Adam karov eitzel atzmo amrinon, eitzel ishtolo amrinon. I might have thought both said that the din of Adam karov eitzel atzmo, that a person is related to himself, is dafka din what? With me and myself. But perhaps the din does not apply to a wife. Perhaps again, Adam Karav Eitzel Ishto, we don't say. And perhaps again, a man would be believed in terms of testimony regarding his wife. Take a look at Rashi just a moment. Eitzel Ishto lo amrinon. Adam Karav le'inyan palginan dibure. Hoyo umehemen ahu dibur lemikdalei lechavrei likdaluha nami ledida. I would have thought the same way that the husband's testimony is believed regarding the boel. It should be believed regarding the woman as well. Kamashmalan, that we say Adam Karov Eitzel Ishto as well, and therefore again his testimony is not believed by his wife. V'amarava, we'll say another example of this case. V'amarava, so we'll say, so far what we have over here are two principles. Number one, Adam Karov Eitzel Atzmo, that a person is not believed ultimately regarding testimony about himself, even though again I want to point out I am believed regarding status of myself, circumstances of myself. Really what the Gemara is referring to over here is self-incriminating evidence. In halacha, an individual is not believed to self-incriminate. Why? Because Adam Karov Eitzel Atzmo, a person who is related to himself, therefore in Adam Eismes Atzmo Rasha. That's principle number one. Principle number two is Pagina Dibure. Principle number two is that when you say something, even if part of your statement is not applicable, we can isolate the part that is applicable and ultimately use that to ascertain proper testimony. Bamarava, Ploni Ba'al Nara Murasa. Let's listen to this. Rav is the following. Somebody comes forward and says, witnesses come forward, will come Reuben and Shimon, and they say, Ploni, so-and-so had relations with the Nara Murasa. Nara Murasa supposed to mean a woman who's betrothed. A woman, right? So a woman is betrothed. She's a married woman. So essentially, we'll call it witnesses A and B. We'll just actually call them A and B come along and they say that Reuben committed adultery. Reuben committed adultery with the Nara HaMurasa. What happens? V'huzmu, and then A and B are made into Edim Zomen. So, right? Other witnesses come along, possibly testify about that. Imano Hayisen, you were with us. So we'll say, what's the halacha? Neheragim, A and B, witnesses A and B are killed. Ve'in Mishalmin Mammon. So we'll say they are killed, but they don't pay money. So they're killed. Why? They're killed because remember again, that was Vasisam lo kasher samam. The penalty for the Baal, for the Boel and the Nara would have been a death penalty. Therefore, the Eden get the death penalty, but they don't pay money. So we'll say, what's the money involved over here? The money involved over here is that through their testimony, they could have also deprived the Nara of a ksuba. So we'll say, so in this case, the Gemara says they get the death penalty, but they don't pay money. Now, again, also no chiddush. Why? Because the ma'aseh again kimlim b'derabim, like we saw yesterday, that when one act generates two simultaneous punishments, so the ma'aseh again you only get the more severe of the punishment. So in this case, one act of testimony generated an obligation for misa and mammon. They only get the misa, don't get the mammon. However, Bito Shwan, I was saying, now what's fascinating about that first case is all they're testifying about is that Reuven had relations with the Nara HaMurasa. What they're not doing is identifying who the Nara is. Now, that's interesting. We're going to get into that in terms of does that actually work? If witnesses show up and say Reuven committed adultery with the Nara HaMurasa, but they don't name the Nara HaMurasa, it sounds like over here they can actually put Reuven to death based on. We'll explore that more. Next case is, follow up on that case, Bito Shalploni. They identify the Nara. Right? So we'll say over here, I'm sorry, and the right, good. They identify the Nara. Bito Shalploni, and I will say same case. A and B show up. They say Reuven had relations with, Reuven committed adultery with Bito Shalploni. So and so's daughter was Nara HaMurasa. So now Reuven's identified, woman is identified, Bahuzmu, and I will say now they're made into Edim Zomen. So what's the halacha? Neheragin. So the Edim are killed, right? Meaning they're executed. That's Vasison Kasher Zaman. Umishalmin Mamon. And they go ahead and they pay money as well. Why? Because Rabbi say, when do we say kilim v'drabimine? Only when both punishments, right, or only when both liabilities are owed to the same person. But if you have a case of two different liabilities, for example, in this case, the result of their testimony would have been putting Ruvain to death and potentially depriving the Nara, ultimately again of her ksuva, in addition to death as well. So because again it's death and money to two different people, therefore in this case again the Edom will be put to death as well as have to pay the money. Take a look at Rashi. Rashi is Mishalmin Mamon. Rashi says first of all he's from Mishalmin Mamon. Shebol la'afsidik ksuva samina erisin u'mishalmin tovas hanos ksuva kedin kol zome ksuva. It looks fine. So it says Amar Rava. Rava says next case Rava said Ploni Rava Hashar. So listen to this. A and B come along. You see that Reuven had relations with an ox. He engaged in an act of bestiality. So just generally, the penalty for bestiality is the individual, the human being who commits the act is executed, and the animal is also executed as well. Now, before you get all uptight with your animal rights stuff, right? So understand the reason we do that is because Alt's covered. It's amazing, by the way. Alt's covered for the perpetrator. Why is Alt's covered for the perpetrator? Because again, we don't want people saying, that's Reuven's ox. Wink, wink. That's So Alt's covered for Reuven. I will say, here's the amazing part, by the way, right? We have covered who engaged in bestiality. So I was like, if you have to have derech eretz for the guy who engages in bestiality, alachas kama v'kama, how much derech eretz we have to have towards one another. It's an incredible yisod. So the idea over here is we execute the perpetrator and the ox. So listen to this case. Amar Rava, Ploni Rava Hashar, A and B, same witnesses, A and B, right? Show up, and they say Reuven had relations with the shar. He violated the shar. V'huzmu. And I will say now what happens? They turn out to be Edim Zomamin. So what's the halacha? Neheragin ve'in mishalmin mammon. So we'll say they are killed. They're executed, but they don't go ahead and have to pay any money. Now, I will say, so now in this case over here, remember, the reason why there's also no financial liability is because the shar is unnamed, right? The shar is unnamed. There's no identified shar. Much in the same way in the first case over here before also, the isha was not named. So in this case, the shar is not named. So the only punishment the witnesses have is misa. However, again, sharo shel ploni v'huzmu. We'll say what happens if they testify that Reuven violated Shimon's shar. So again, now they've identified whose shar belongs to v'huzmu, and now ultimately again they're killed. Neheragin u'mishamin mama. So we'll say ultimately again they get a death penalty and a financial penalty. So the Gemara says why mamon? So mamon lezet u'nefashos lezet, because also remember again, and the nefashos are really two distinct liabilities. The mammon is the mammon they owe to the Shimon, right? Reuven owes the money to Shimon. Why does he owe Shimon money? Because as a result of Reuven's act, Shimon's ox is now going to be slaughtered, is going to be executed. So ultimately, he owes money to Shimon for the ox, and the din of Misa is his own personal liability. So the Gemara says, Hasulam, I don't understand, why do you need all of these cases? They're all the same. What's I mean? All these cases are the same, which essentially is what? That when you have two liabilities to the same person, but when there's two distinct liabilities, let's say Misa and Mamon, but it's two distinct liabilities, and Enachinami, the perpetrator will be chayiv both. But in all of these cases, Mishum deka boy, because ultimately, again, there was a particular question that was raised about it. The boy Rava, Ploni Rava Shori Mahu. Oh, Rava said, listen to this. Let's say, again, Reuven comes to Beis Din, and Reuven testifies that Shimon violated my shar. So we'll say, in this case over here, Reuven is testifying that Shimon violated Reuven's shar. Again, this is assuming is also that Reuven is coming with another witness, right? Reuven and another guy are showing up and saying that Shimon violated my shar. Mahu. Listen to this, and this is a very profound yisod. Mi aminan adam karav eitzel atzmo. Ve'ein adam karav eitzel mamono. Minan adam karav eitzel mamono. I will say, what a profound shayla. Do we say that an adam is only karav to himself? In other words, that I'm a karav to myself, and that's why again I can't go ahead and testify regarding matters of myself. Karav to my money, or do we say no? A person is absolutely a karav to his money. We'll say sometimes I feel closer to my money than I feel to myself. Right? There are people like that, unfortunately, in life, who ultimately, again, their greatest kirva sometimes is the gashmis, it's the mammon. So we'll say, so you hear the shiloh here, but again, it's not like a musush, it's not a hashkafa, this is a halachic shiloh. So is a person believed to ultimately testify regarding their mammon? Reuven shows up in Beis Din, and Reuven says with another witness, Shimon violated my shar. Do we say that Reuven is a quote-unquote karov to his shar, and therefore, again, his testimony is not believed or not? Basar devaya ha de pashta. We'll say after we asked the question, it was answered, Adam karov eitzel atzmo, ve'ein Adam karov eitzel mamono. We'll say in a very profound halachic and hashkafic yisod, that a person is karov to himself, but a person is not a karov to his mammon. We'll say, which is an incredibly important yisod. So therefore, again, on a halachic level, Reuven would be believed to go ahead and testify that Shimon violated Reuven's shar. He and another witness could potentially be believed to put Shimon to death based on that testimony, but would not be believed ultimately, again, regarding circumstances that impact his person. Not even that. That's Adam Karov Eitzatzmo. Let's say, of course, an incredible yisod also. Adam Karov Eitzatzmo means at the end of the day, I will say the greatest kirva in life that a person has is himself. Sometimes we think that what defines us are our relationships. I'm someone's father, I'm someone's husband, I'm someone's son. Those are all very important yisodas and all very, very beautiful things if you have them in life. But at the end of the day, those are not the things that define you. What defines you in life is Adam Karov Eitzel Atzmo. Who are you? Not who are you vis-a-vis someone else. Not who are you related to. Not what's your relationship. But Adam Karov Eitzel Atzmo. The greatest kirva and the most important relationship is the relationship I have with myself. Who am I? What am I? What's the personality that I have hewn out for myself? Who am I? Isn't it? If you take away all of my life relationships and I stand by myself, what is my personality? What are my kohos? What are my strengths? What is it that I'm accomplishing in this world? That's the yesod of Adam Karov Eitzel Atzmo. The greatest kirva and the most important relationship is the one you have with yourself, the person ultimately who you are. Incredible yesod. Makas b'shloshes. Once we go back there. Now we're going to go through, actually, we're going to have a lot of nice Gemara. We're pretty much going to go through just the entire Mishnah now. So the Gemara says, remember, Malkus b'shlosha meant the Mishnah told me that for Malkus, we administer Malkus with a basin of 3 people. So where do I know this from? Amar Avchuna said, Pasuk says, ultimately, again, Ushefatum, you will judge them. So we'll say that's plural. Shnaim. So we'll say that refers to 2. Ve'ein bezdin shakol. Therefore, you can't have a basin that's equal. Mosif aleim od echad harikan shlosha. So we'll say, so you add on what? So Ushefatum tells me by Malkus that I need a basin of a minimum of 2. Can't have a basin of 2, and therefore, again, halacha l'maisa, you add on 1, 2, 3. Ela me'ata. Then we'll say, taking that a step further, b'tzdiku shnayim vir shiu shnayim harikan shiva. So we'll say, but one second, if that's the case, that every plural word in that pasuk represents 2, then I have ushfatum is 2, b'tzdiku is 2, vir shiu is 2, that's 6. You can't have a basin that's equal. That should give you a basin of 7. Hahomi boile kidula. They will say that drasha is necessary, as Ula said. What did Ula say? The Amar Ula, Remez la'idim zomim min Torah minayim. From where do we see a scriptural allusion to idim zomin? To which the Gemara says, Remez la'idim zomin, v'aksiv kasher zamam. Well, you don't need a remez to idim zomin. Idim zomin is explicitly written in the Torah. To which the Gemara says, Ela remez la'idim zomin shalokin minayim. Rather, Rabbi say the shaila is, how do you know? How do you know in a situation where you can't do va'asisem lo kasher zamam? How do I know that in a case where reciprocal punishment is not an option? How do I know that I go ahead and I give malchus? Also, you hear the Shaitaners. Rashi points out over here, for example, if I testify, let's say 2 witnesses testify about the son of a Kohen, that his mother was a grusha, he's a ben grusha, therefore he's a chalal. So let's say they're found to be edim zom. So what are you going to do then? What are you going to do then? You're going to make them into chalolim? You're going to make of course not. So what do you do about saying in situations where you can't do hazama? There's malchus. So how do I know that? So the pasuk says, you shall go ahead and the tzaddik, and you will exonerate the tzaddik, and you will find culpable the rasha. What does that mean? What's the connection? Because you're mastik the tzaddik. That's why you go ahead and you find the rasha guilty. So the Gemara says, what does that mean? So the Gemara says, "V'hayam ben hakol rasha ela edim shershu es atzadik." So the Gemara says it's like this: if witnesses show up and witnesses delivered false testimony, and as a result, they made the tzaddik into a rush. In other words, they both say they testified falsely about the tzaddik and they said that he was a rasha. Then a second set of witnesses come along and are mazim, make the first set into Eidim Zomim, and therefore once again exonerate the innocent individual, the Meikara, Vishavinu Lahanach Rishayim, and ultimately make these second set of witnesses into Rishayim. V'haya ben hakol rasha, if for some reason you cannot go ahead and give the witnesses the Hazama punishment, I will say what you can do is you give them Malchus. The Seifokle Milosana. But I don't understand, why don't we say that witnesses, Eidim Zomim, should get Malchus from Losana, right? Losana is one of the big 10, right? You're not allowed to give false testimony. That's a lav. With witnesses come along and give false testimony, they violated a lav. But we'll say, generally, if you violate a lav, what's the halacha? You go ahead and you get Malchus. So why not give Eidim Zomim Malchus based on the fact that they violated Losana? Mishum dahavile lav she'in b'maisa. V'chol lav she'in b'maisa ein lo kinalav. Because I will say Losana, in other words, giving false testimony is a lav she'in b'maisa. So say giving false testimony is dibor. So dibor by itself is not a maisa, it's not an action. Generally, we assume you only get Malchus for a maisa. You eat chazer, you wear shatnez, you violate shatnez. That property, so we'll say those are things that's a maisa. So false testimony by itself is a dibor, it's not a maisa. Therefore, I would have thought you can't get Malchus from it. Therefore, the Gemara goes in and has to learn it out from this whole drasha by Eidim Zomim. Fine, says the pasuk. Says the Gemara. Mishum Rabbi Shmuel Amru be'esrim shlosh. Supposed to remember, Rabbi Shmuel says that for Malchus, even for Malchus, you need a beis din ultimately again of 23. 23. So the Gemara says, my time with Rabbi Shmuel. Why did Nabo say now 23? When we hear 23, so what do we think? 23 is Dinei Nefashos, right? 23 ultimately again is usually again capital cases. So Lemaisa again, 23 for a case of Malchus. So my time with Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Asya Rasha Mechayve Misos. So what's to make a Gzera Shava of Rasha from Chayve Misos. So again, we have a great Gzera Shava of Rasha between Misa and Malchus. So the Gemara says Ksif Hacha Vahaya bin Hakol Harasha. So it says over here that if it will be that the Rasha Ksiv Hasav Asher Hu Rasha Lamos. So we'll say it says over here, actually by Eidim Zomim, right? That it says Malchus, and it says in Bamidbar that by the Rasha sharing who Rasha Lamos, Malav on Be'esrim Shlosha, Afkan Be'esrim Shlosha. So what says the Gemara essentially says you make a Gzera Shava between Misa and Malchus. So just like by Misa you need a basin of 23, so too by Malchus you need a basin of 23. Rava says, so again remember, we're trying to figure out now the svara of Rabbi Shmuel. So Rabbi Shmuel says that for Malchus you need a basin of 23. Why? So first approach Abaye, there's a Gzera Shava between Misa and Malchus. Just like Misa needs a basin of 23, Malchus is a basin of 23. Rava says no. Malchus b'makom Misa. So we'll say Rava here says something quite profound. Rava says that Malchus is instead of Misa. So he's going to see another way of saying that Malchus in and of itself is like a quasi Misa. If that's the case, that Malchus is like a quasi Misa, ihachi umdina lamali. Now we'll get into this in Maseches Malchus. In Maseches Malchus, we'll discuss this. That we'll say before Bezin would administer Malchus to someone, they would do an umdina. They would assess how many lashes a person was actually capable of receiving without chas v'shalom dying. So as it says in Gemara, Rava, if you are correct that Malchus is instead of Misa, so why do you have to do any kind of umdina? Why assess the individual? Flog him, and if he dies, he dies. What's the big deal? To which the Gemara says, I'm sorry. If he dies as a result of Malchus, let him die as a result of the Malchus. Meaning, if you're telling me that Malchus is also a substitute for Misa, so then there's no umdina that's this. As well say the pasuk says that literally your brother will be flogged in front of you. Well, the idea is that we want him to be achicha even after the flogging. Therefore, again, it's important that when you go ahead and you finish administering the malchus, that ultimately he is still alive. So we'll discuss this, that if they go ahead and let's say they assess that the particular perpetrator is capable of withstanding 20 malchus, 20 lashes. So we'll say, we're going to see malchus the number of malchus always has to be subdivisible by 3. The reason for that, Rabbi is because if you look at Rashi says over here, Ein makino so'ela, shmona esrei, the makas harus l'shtalish l'shlosha chalakim ba'inon, shemakish teyodos me'achorov, ushlish me'afanav. So when giving malchus, they would give 2/3 of the lashes on the individual's back and 1/3 on the front of his body. So we'll say that means every time when they had a malchus, it had to be divisible by 3, 2/3 and 1/3. So for example, the Basin came along and said, we assess this guy can withstand 20 lashes. So what's the halacha? So the Gemara says, "V'kamein tamni surei." So how many would we give him? We'd give him 18. Says the Gemara, I don't understand why. I'm a base. Limche esrim v'chada. What's it? Give him 21. Give him 21. Dichi mayis v'hach chada lemos. Tehal kimachis agaba dechaye kamachis. 21. Because he's not going to die immediately from that first lash. Even if he dies after that first lash, 21st lash, who cares? In other words, at the end of the day, at least when you were giving him the lashes, he was still alive. So the mice again, why not? In other words, most like this is. I know this sounds like a little bit heartless, but this is all based on Rava's statement. Rav is saying that malchus is instead of misa. If that's the case, we seem to have a preoccupation that the guy shouldn't die as a result of the malchus. But why not? I don't understand. What you'll see me say, what's the big deal? If he dies, he dies. In other words, if you're telling me that malchus is a form of misa. Anyway, and that's why Rabbi Shmuel says you need a basin of 23. Just up it 1 lash. He's not going to die the second you give him the lash. If he dies a little bit afterwards, he dies. Amakra, we'll say Yudam with Bay's 3rd line. Amakra v'nikla achicha le'inecha. Acher shalaka achicha ba'ina v'leka. Rabbi say, because the pasuk says v'nikla achicha le'inecha, your brother should be flogged literally in front of you. After he receives the malchus, he still has to be achicha. So the idea being that even after the lashes are finished, he has to be in a state of achicha. What does it mean? Rabbi he has to be in a state of achicha? He has to be alive. So the idea that the Torah says is when there is malchus that is being administered, so l'maisa again, it has to be that he's achicha even after the malchus have been administered. So the malchus can never result in his actual death. Fine. So we'll say, so essentially we still have this machlokes. Now we paskin like the Rav, not like Rabbi Shmuel, namely that a beis din of malchus only was required, comprised of 3, does not need to be a beis din of 23. So it says the Gemara the following. Ibur HaChodesh b'shlosha. So let's remember again, the Mishnah said that Ibur HaChodesh is with 3. Now remember, what's Ibur? Ibur means we'll say that declaring a month to have an extra day. You could either have 29 or 30 days. So the Rosh Chodesh is either the 30th or the 31st day. So the Mishnah says over here that Ibur HaChodesh, which sounds like adding on a 30th day, requires a basin of 3. To which the Gemara says, Chishuv lo katani, Kiddush lo katani, ele ibur. Interestingly enough, the Mishnah does not discuss Kiddush and does not discuss Chishuv and does not discuss Kiddush. I will say, what do these terms mean? So Chishuv, Rabbi said, is the discussion. In other words, a discussion about whether or not there should be an extra day in the month. So the Mishnah doesn't discuss the process for that discussion, nor does it discuss Kiddush. Now, if you look at Rashi, Rashi's Kiddush lo katani, the nema Tzarech Gimel Lakabel Eidos HaChodesh Min Pia Eidim V'Loar Mekudash HaChodesh. So we'll say Kiddush is what we're most familiar with, which is where the Beis actually receives the testimony of the witnesses who saw the new moon, and as a result of Mekadesh the Chodesh. So the Gemara is just pointing out, the Mishnah doesn't talk about Chishuv, which is the process where they would discuss should we or should we not make it a full month, and it doesn't discuss Chidush, rather it just discusses Ibur. It just discusses the idea that we need to convene a Beis Din of 3 when you want to add on an additional day to the month. To which the Gemara says, I don't understand. Lo lekatsha or memela la'aber. But I will say Ibor shouldn't really require any formal process. Because I will say what happens, as long as you do not declare the new month, then by definition what happens? The previous month becomes a 30-day month. I will say in the absence of a Beis Din to declare the 30th day of the month, Rosh Chodesh, the first day of the new month, then by definition what happens is the 30th day of the present month, by definition becomes day 30, and day 31 will become Rosh Chodesh. In other words, I don't need to convene a Beis Din to be ma'aber, to add in an extra day for the Chodesh. That is a default reality that occurs if Beis Din is not Mekadesh, the new month. Amar Abaye says, Tani Kiddush HaChodesh. The Mishnah should read Kiddush HaChodesh, the sanctification of the new month. That the sanctification of the actual new month requires a Beis Din ultimately again of 3, to which the Gemara says, that supports this, Kiddush HaChodesh, V'ibor Hashana B'Shlosha Div Rabbi Meir. That ultimately Kiddush HaChodesh was a sanctification of the new month, which means the declaration of Rosh Chodesh. Ibor Hashana, which means both say again that's a leap month. That's the addition of an additional month. Those require but they din ultimately of 3. Div Rabbi Meir. Amar Rava, V'ha Ibor Katani. So Rava says, you know what, Abai, that is a beautiful word, except it doesn't work because the Mishnah doesn't say Kiddush HaChodesh. The Mishnah Dafka says what? Ibor HaChodesh. Amar Rava, therefore Rava says the following: Kiddush biyom. Kiddush biyom. I'm sorry. Kiddush biyom ibor b'shlosha achar ibor leka kiddush. So Rava says like this. So Kiddush, if the Beis Din is going to be Mekadesh, the new month, biyom ibor. Biyom ibor means what? On the 30th day, that's the extra day of the month, on the 30th day, then the Lamai said that requires a Beis Din of 3. Achar Ibor, but I will say if Beis Din is only getting together to declare the new month on the 31st, like a Kiddush. Then Rabbi said there is no need for a Beis Din to declare the new month. Rabbi say, so Rava's logic is like this. Rava's logic is if Beis Din is going to declare the new month on the 30th day, that requires a Beis Din of 3. If Beis Din is going to declare the new month on the 31st day, that does not require a Beis Din of 3. Why not, Rabbi say? Because that's a de facto reality. Umani, we'll say whose opinion is this? Rabbi Elazar ben Tzadok. The sign Rabbi Elazar ben Tzadok, Rabbi Elazar ben Tzadok says, Imlo nira bismano in mekanchin also shekvar kitzua b'shamayim. That will say ultimately again, if the new moon bismano. What is bismano? Take a look at Rashi. Rashi is about halfway down in the short lines. Bismano biyom lamed. If they did not see the new moon on the 30th day of the month, then the toldoso biyom lamed hu de'in chodesh levana pachos michaftes yom mechza v'taf shin tzadik gimel chalokim shekvar kitzua b'shamayim beis din shalmal mesvos. So we'll say Rabbi Elazar ben Tzadok says if you do not see the new moon on the 30th day, so there is no need for Beis Din to go ahead and declare the new month because by definition day 31 becomes the new month. In other words, he says Kadosh Baruch Hu has already declared it. Rav Nachman Amar Kiddush Achar Ibor B'Shlosha. Rav Nachman says the opposite. He says no. If Beis Din is going to Mekadesh the new month on the 31st day, they require 3 witnesses, or 3, not 3 witnesses, but a Beis Din of 3. Biyom Ibor Leka Kiddush. But ultimately, again, if they want to declare the new month on the 30th day of Osai, then there is no Kiddush. And who is the opinion? This is Umani, Plimohi. Both say this is the opinion of Plimo. What did Plimo say? Desanya Plimo Omer, Bismano in Mekachin also, Shlo Bismano Mekachin also. So we'll say Plimo says that if they want to declare the new month on the 30th day, ultimately, again, don't need a Beis Din for that. But on the 31st day, we do need a Beis Din for that. Ravashi Omer, the Olam Chishav Katane. So we'll say, all we're trying to figure out over here is what the Mishnah means when it says Ibor B'Shlosha. What does that mean? Ravashi gives another opinion. The Olam Chishav Katani. Really, when the Mishnah said Ibor, the Mishnah didn't mean Ibor. Rather, the Mishnah meant Chishuv. That Rabbi say, you need a Beis Din of 3. You have to give in a Beis Din of 3. Discuss whether or not the new month should be a month of 30 or 31. Or I should say 29 or 30. So the Gemara says, Umay Ibor. So why is it that the Mishnah said Ibor? Umay Ibor, Chishuv di Ibor. It means Rabbi said that you convene a Beis Din for Chishuv di Ibor to think about whether or not they should make the new month into a mali or a chaser. The ID to kavai lemisna ibor shana, ibor chodesh. And Rabbi says, so if it's chishuv, if it's talking about the need to convene a Beis Din of 3 to discuss if you should make the previous month a mali or a chaser, so why does it use the lashon of ibor? It means chishuv de ibor. You should convene a Beis Din of 3 to discuss whether or not this month should be a month of 29 or a month of 30. Tanya Nami, so the Gemara says, Tana Nami Ibor, Tanami, fine. And I will say, since again, it used Lashon of Ibor Shana, it also used, it wanted Mishnaic symmetry. It used the same Lashon of Chodesh as well. Fine. So the Gemara says, Chishuv Chodesh in Kiddush Chodesh lo. Well, what do you see from here? You see from here that you only need a basin of 3 Rabosai to discuss or to contemplate going ahead and making the month a full month. But yet for Kiddush Chodesh, for actually sanctifying the new month, apparently you don't need 3. So who's paying this? So money, Rabbi Eliezer. This Sanya, Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Ben Bizmano, Ben Shalom Bizmano, in Mekachno. So what's Rabbi Eliezer is of the opinion that whether you see the new moon in its time or not, it's like 29 or 30 days, you don't need a beis din to be mekadesh the new month. Shene'emar v'kidashtem es shnasa chamishim shana shanim ata mekadesh v'ata mekadesh chadashim. That Rabbi Elazar's drasha is that a beis din only has to sanctify the years, but doesn't mean, let's say that's for Yovel purposes, but does not have to sanctify the month. So we'll say obviously we don't paskin that way like Rabbi Eliezer. We hold that beis din sanctifies the months as well in addition to the years. So the goes right. So we'll say so therefore again. Turns out that what the Mishnah is discussing, when the Mishnah says that you need a beis din of 3 for Ibor HaChodesh, Ibor HaChodesh means that Lamais you need a beis din of 3 to discuss whether or not we should make the previous this month into a malay or into a chaser. Now we'll say this, of course, is in the absence ultimately again of Eidos as well. We also ask him that you need a beis din of 3 to Mekadesh the Chodesh as well. Fine. The Gemara goes weiter. So Rabbi Shmuel Silber said, remember, Rabbi Shmuel Silber had the interesting shita. Rabbi Shmuel Silber said that when it comes to Ibor Hashana, so now the Tanakama said that for Ibor Hashana you need 3. You need 3, right? To go ahead and make a leap year, you need 3. Rabbi Shmuel Silber then said you start with 3, you go to 5, and you end up with 7. So everybody said, what does that mean? Tanya. Case and Amar Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. So we'll say the Bryce now says, what was Rabbi Shimon Gamliel's case? Right? When does he require ultimately again this 3, 5, and 7 model? So he says like this. We begin with 3. We discuss it. Let's say this is now by a leap year. So we begin the process with 3. We then begin to go ahead and we've continued to discuss the matter. We're with 5 dayanim. The Gomrim b'Shiva. Again, we begin with we finish the proceedings with 7 dayanim. So the Gemara says, Echad Omer. So we'll say, so how does this process play out? Echad Omer leishev, Ushnayim Omrim Shelo leishev. So we'll say, let's say again, you have one. Let's say you have a beis din of 3. Start with a beis din of 3. One of the dayanim says, we should really discuss whether or not to make this a leap year. Take a look at Rashi for just a moment. Echad Omer leishev. Echad ben Ashlosha Omer tzarech leishev ula'ayin and tzichin la'aber shana zum mipnei aviv ad kos. Remember we discussed this on that you require a leap year because of us. We have an interesting anomaly. Our calendar is a lunar calendar, yet the Yamim Tovim are based on seasons. Seasons are based on the sun. So you can have a situation where the lunar calendar does not line up with the seasons. So for example, where this comes up most often is where? Pesach. Pesach is Chag HaAviv. Pesach is the spring Yom Tiv. But sometimes Pesach come out in the middle of the winter. So that's why I said, what do you do to remedy that? You make it a leap year. That's why the leap month is always Adar. Because the issue with the leap year is always the need to push off Pesach or not. So I will say, so what you have over here is the following. You have a basin of 3. If one of the Dayanim says, listen, I will say we should sit down and discuss whether or not to make this a leap year. Ushnayim Omer Shelo leishev. And what happens? The other 2 Dayanim say, nope, we don't need it. So we'll say, what's the halacha? Batel yachid b'mi'uto. So we'll say we go after the laws of majority, and ultimately, again, this is not just like your hataras nedarim beis din over here, right? Should make a leap year, not make a leap year, right? This is talking about obviously an empowered beis din. So, but the idea over here is the process gets started with 3. One of them says we should make a leap year. 2 say no, it's fine. It's okay. So we law of majority. The yachid is batil. So we'll say, so what happens? Now we'll say same basin of 3. 2 say, you know what? We should really contemplate whether or not we need to make a leap year. So 2 say we should sit down and discuss. 1 says no. So we'll say what's the halacha? So the 2 win. We do mosifin aleim od shnayim. So we'll say then what we do is we take that basin of 3 and we add on another 2. Now that we're going to begin discussing whether or not to make a leap year, we need a more robust rabbinic body, and therefore again, we're going to add on another 2. Now we have a Beis Din of 5. Beis Din of 5. Remember again, we'll say, even though that one guy said we shouldn't discuss it, once the majority ruled, we don't kick him off the Beis Din. It's fine. We go after the majorities. So we have an original Beis Din of 3, add on 2 more to now begin to discuss whether or not we should make a leap year. And we begin to go ahead and discuss the matter. Shnayim omrim tzricha, ushlosha omrim ein tzricha, but lushnayim b'miutan. So we'll say now you have this Beis Din of 5. If 2 said we should move this process forward, we need a Beis Din. We need a leap year. And 3 say no, we don't. So we'll say then what happens? Majority rules, shuts the matter down. Shlosha omrim tzricha, ushnayim ein tzricha. So we'll say what happens again? You have your Beis Din of 5. 3 say, you know what? We really need to make a Beis Din. And what? 2 say, no, we don't. So what's the halacha? We'll say, now we'll say we're going to kick this up a level. Now what do? We add on another 2 dayanim. Ultimately, again, for what purpose? For establishing a Beis Din now of 7. Because we'll say now we've reached the point where the decision has been reached to declare a leap year. So now we'll say we add on another 2 to make a Beis Din of 7. She'ein haminyan pachos mishiva. Now we will discuss what exactly that statement means. But a minyan is not less than 10. Or for these, it's not less than 7. So for these purposes, I will say we cannot declare a leap year with less than a Beis Din of 7. We'll discuss how we get to that. So the Gemara says, Hani shlosha chamisha v'sheva kineged mi. So we'll say, where does Rabbi Shimon Gamliel get this 3, 5, 7? So we'll say, what you just saw over here is Rabbi Shimon Gamliel's process for Kiddush HaChodesh. It starts with 3, right? Assuming that L'maisa again you get a majority of 2. That's the deliberation phase. You get a majority of 2, so you add on another 2, 5. And we'll say now again, still in deliberation phase. If we say we're going to do it, you add on another 2, that's 7. 7 are the ones who actually declared the leap year. So where do you get this 3, 5, 7 model from? So the Gemara says, Pligi bar Rabbi Yitzchak bar Nachmani v'chad diyimei. Rabbi Yitzchak bar Nachmani and his friend argued on this. Umanu, who is the friend? Rabbi Shimon ben Pazi. Rabbi Shimon ben Pazi v'chad diyimei. Umanu Rabbi Yitzchak bar Nachmani. Chad Amar, so it's machlok is who the people are over here. Chad Amar kineged birchas kanim. V'chad Amar shlosha kineged. So one says that it corresponds to birchas kanim. So what does birchas kanim have to do? Let's take a look at the second wide line in Rashi. So he says, "Bepasuk rishon gimel tevos hasheni hey ushlishi zayin." Because we'll say birchas kanim. The first line has 3 letters. First pasuk has 3 words. Second pasuk has 5 words. Third pasuk has 7 words. This gives us a 7, 3, 5, 7 model. Now we'll say, now what's the connection between birchas kanim and that? We'll discuss. The chad amar shlosha kineged shomrei asaf. Obviously, I will say that 3 corresponds. A palace is set up. The way a palace is set up is you have 3 guards who guard the entrance. And I will say, Rashi points out, we know this from Daniel and from Achashverosh. 3 shomrei asaf, chamisha me'ra pnei hamelech. 5 guards or 5 ministers who ultimately see the king. Shiva roa pnei hamelech. And ultimately, again, another 7 who are even the closer advisors or guards of the king. So as I see the idea being over here now, what does a palace have to do with this? So remember again, Rashi points out, I'll just read this quickly. It's shlosha kineged shomrei asaf, kilomar ashkechana demachusa da'ara, shlosha mamunim echamisha mamunim b'shiva mamunim, gimel kineged shomrei asaf, b'tzidkiyo, kabigals and budzarn, v'hasanai mishkachas chamisha me'ra pnei hamelech, v'bachashosh achshka. So as Rashi just points out, we see this 3, 5, 7 setup in a palace by Achashverosh and by Daniel. But what does this have to do with Iber Shana? He says the Iber Shana mitachsisi malchus shamayim hu liyashev seder shana mechona. Both sides. One of the greatest manifestations of God's divine monarchical role is time. It's his control over time. Now, he gives that control over time to us, but as a display that ultimately HaKadosh Baruch Hu controls all time. But he's given that license to us. When we control time, we set it up as a palace would be set up. So that 3, 5, 7 model ultimately, again, is how the palace would be set up. Also, we'll just finish quickly. Tani Rabbi Yosef, Hani Shlosha, Chamisha, B'Sheva, Shlosha, Keneged Shomrei Asaf, Chamisha, Me'ra Pnei Hamelech, Pnei Hamelech. Amar Rabbi Yosef, Ata Idna, my time alone, Parish Lama. So listen to this last exchange, and with this we'll stop. So Rabbi says to Rabbi Yosef, Why did you never explain this before? In other words, all these years I've been wondering where the 3, 5, 7 model of Rabbi Shmuel comes from. Now you're telling me it's the 3, 5, and 7 modeled after the guards in a palace, that just like the palace has this setup, so too, when the Ribono Shel Olam's monarchy is revealed through the control of time, we also set up the Beis Din to mirror the setup of a palace. Why did you never share this with me? So the Gemara says, Amar lahu lo hava yadana ditzrachisu. I never know you needed the information. Mi ba'isu minai milsa v'lo amri lechu. Is it like you ever asked me and I never told you? It was a very interesting exchange. So what he's saying is, you think I was holding out on you? You never asked me the question. Right? They will say, if you don't ask, you don't know. So the mice again, what he's saying over here is, you make it sound like I was holding information out on you. I was never holding information. This is the first time you asked the question. Therefore, this is the first time ultimately that I gave you the answer. There was enough to stop over here. We'll be most of the Hashem on this last part of the answer Hashem tomorrow.